Hey there. Welcome to the Literary Escape Podcast. I'm your host, Becky, and I'm glad you're here today. Today I have an author joining me who is part of my summer literary escape party that's going on this week and next week. I wanted to share her books with you so that you could get to know her a little bit, and I want to invite you to the party. So stick around and I'll tell you more a little bit later. Enjoy the show. Hey there, welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited to have you here with me today. I have author Ann McIntosh with me. She is one of Harlequin's authors, and she is also going to be one of my authors for the Summer Escape Party. So I'm excited to have you meet her today. Let's jump right into the interview. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
You too.
We'll just jump right in. So, how did you become an author?
I think it's always been something that I've wanted to do. I remember, I tell this story occasionally, being about 7 years old in Jamaica. We only had one television station, black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And on a Sunday afternoon, they would have a movie. And they
Oh,
were
wow.
always like really old movies. So, 40s and 50s. And I remember one afternoon lying there with my nose close to the television watching this movie. And it was, a privateer and some noble, French lady on one of the islands in the Caribbean. And they had all these adventures. But at the end of the movie, he sails off into the sunset, leaving her behind. And I remember being so angry about that.
Yeah.
And I asked my mother if she would buy me, I don't know what you'd call it. In Jamaica, we call them exercise books. It's just those tiny little notebooks that you get to use at school.
Okay, yeah.
If she would buy me one. And I started rewriting that entire movie.
Oh, how
because as far as I was concerned, that was not
I had done it poorly.
But of course, I never finished it. I mean, 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah, that's a big commitment.
But I always dabbled in writing.
Okay.
And then when my son was born, I was a single mom, and I felt like I hadn't really done anything in life, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to set out to do something that I could show him by doing.
Yeah.
That, if you have a dream, you should follow it, and all of that jazz.
Right.
So I started doing a course. I did a course up at the university in Kingston, University of the West Indies. They had a creative writing course in the evenings. Cool. I did that. And my instructor at that course was so, encouraging. She
nice.
said, you do have a talent, you should continue pursuing it. Of course, life gets in the way. And so it took a number of years after that for me to actually sit down and start trying my hand at actual writings. But that's sort of how I got into it. And when I went to Canada, and I discovered, oh my gosh, there are all these groups that you can join, and all these little courses you can take. And so I started doing that. And that's really how I ended up being published initially.
Okay. And were you published in Canada, or was it an American publisher?
Well, both of the publishers, they were the small presses. This is back in the Wild West days of, before self-publishing had really gotten to the point to where it is now. And all of these small presses were kind of coming out. Both of the small presses, or actually all three of them, were American based.
Okay.
That I started out with.
Okay.
But I mean, the experience that I gained writing with them was phenomenal. I think I lucked out with the editors that I had in particular for those small presses, because your mileage varies when you're working with an editor.
Right.
Some you click with, some you don't, some you think have a really good eye for how to polish your work without ruining your voice, and
Right.
others are just sort of more heavy-handed. I think I was very, very lucky.
That's awesome. What
Yeah.
a nice way to jump into it, huh?
Yeah.
That's cool. And so you are now with Harlequin, is that right?
Yes, I write at the moment. I write for Harlequin Medicals.
Okay. I'm
Um,
curious how you got into the Harlequin medicals.
okay, so my really, really good friend Amy Rattan, she lives in Canada. She lives in the same town that I used to live in, and we met through the Toronto Romance Writers Group. We had both gone to Toronto separately to this meeting. And when they asked me to introduce myself, and I said I lived in London, Ontario, she got up and she said, "Oh, great, somebody else who, lives in my town." And we became firm friends at that point, and we still are. So,
Does she still live in London?
yes, she actually, no, her parents-in-law unfortunately passed away, but her husband decided that he wanted to move back to the farm that he grew up on.
Okay.
So they're now out near a little town called Blythe, Ontario.
Okay. Because I have a friend who lives in London. I never heard of it before until she moved there. So that's kind of funny.
Go figure.
I know, small world.
Exactly. And I always, notice I always say London, Ontario, because if you say London, everybody goes, "Oh, England." No,
England,
no,
right? Yeah.
no.
There is
There are
more than
many.
one, apparently.
There are many. In Jamaica, there's a little London, which is actually really tiny too.
Oh, how funny. That's
Yeah,
funny.
so Amy and I are friends, and we sort of set out to break into the whole romance writing thing together.
Okay.
And I don't remember how she got into Harlequin. Oh, I think she saw one of those. So you think you can write that Harlequin does periodically,
Oh, okay.
and she entered, and they said they were interested, and she ran the whole gamut because they kind of put you through the ringer
Ooh,
when you're first trying to break in.
I bet.
And and I was there with her the whole time, cheering her on. "Yay, go Amy, just do what they ask you to do," kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's how she got in. And
Oh,
she's a
wow.
powerhouse, man. She's on her 32nd book.
That's amazing. Wow.
And she got in, I think, in 2013. So
Holy
she
moly.
exactly. She's amazing.
That's
Um,
crazy.
but another one of they were having another "So You Think You Can Write" or one of the pitch things, and I was going through a really hard time at the time. Both of the small presses that I wrote for had folded. Um, I'd hit burnout pretty bad
Yeah.
and had basically stopped writing for a
Mm.
while. And Amy said to me, "Come on, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it." Just they're looking for more diverse characters and all of that stuff. And come on, do it, do it. So I was like, "Okay, all right, all right, all right,
Okay.
all right, all right." Not expecting that they'd be interested in the book, but
So did you
I
have to go to
pitched
them with a book or just a pitch?
just a pitch,
Okay.
which was a good thing because I did not have a book.
Exactly.
I had an idea. And I pitched an idea. To my surprise, they were like, "Oh, we're kind of interested in this. Why don't you develop it?" Um, at the time, my first marriage was actually falling apart, and I was like, "There's no way I can do this." But at the same
Yeah.
time, when you're in a situation like that, you kind of think to yourself, "Well, it's kind of now or never."
Yeah. Is this going to come around again if I say no?
Exactly. And you're already going through a bunch of changes, so why not just go for it?
Why not just
So
pile it on? Yeah.
exactly. Take it all on. I am woman, hear me roar.
Exactly.
So I I sat down and I wrote the book, and I went through multiple, edits, and did changes that they wanted me to make,
Okay.
and just sort of hung in there, white knuckled my way through it. And
Yeah.
to my surprise, they offered me a 2-book contract, and
Yay.
I've been writing with them ever since.
That's awesome. How fun.
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming you went into this without a medical background.
No, I did not have a medical background
Yeah.
at
And so
all.
how do you write medical books? I mean, do the editors come into play with that part, or?
They do have people who make sure that you're not spouting drool,
Okay. Okay.
but I think one of the things that has made me able to write these books is that when I first started writing romance, I was a huge history buff. And so I started out writing historicals,
Oh, cool.
which
Okay.
entails so much research, because people can be really picky
Especially
about
those
their
historicals.
historical,
Yeah.
right? Um, and I actually enjoy research.
Okay.
I trained years ago as a paralegal, and that was one of the things that I always thought if I was going to go back into any kind of legal field, it would be strictly research based,
Okay.
because that's something that I
That's what you
really
enjoy.
enjoy.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I'm able to sort of fudge my way through that way, through the
Okay.
whole research
Nice.
part of it.
And looking at your books, you've got books that are set kind of all over the world. Tell me some of your settings and kind of how you came about with them.
It's funny because knowing I was going to be talking to you today, I went back and looked at all of the books and tried to come up with almost like a list of where they've been
Where they
set.
all were, yeah.
Um, some of it is aspirational for me
Uh-huh.
personally, because I have never been able to travel as much as I'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
Other places are places that I know or that
Okay.
I've enjoyed. So I've set books in South Florida. I've had 2 in South Florida, one in Fort Lauderdale, the other one in Miami.
Okay.
Um, a couple of my medical authors have beat me to the Keys, because that was going to be my sort of my next stop, but I'll let that simmer down for a while before I go down there. I set one in
Okay.
New
That's
York
always a good
City.
city to have books set in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoyed New York the couple of times I've been there.
Nice.
Um, I have a thing for islands. Go
Mm-hmm.
figure.
Makes sense. Yeah. Wonder how that happened.
I don't know. Um, but I tend to fictionalize my island. So I've had a fictional archipelago in the Indian Ocean,
Oh, cool.
and that's aspirational. I've always wanted to go to the Seychelles, so it was kind of based
Okay.
loosely
Loosely in
on
that. Yeah.
that. Um,
Nice.
I created a private Scottish island
Nice.
for one of my Christmas books.
Okay. That's fun.
Um, and I have a fictional Caribbean island that I've set 2 books on, and I probably will go back and set a couple more there, because it's almost like taking the best of Jamaica and putting it on a smaller island. Some of the same problems, but
Mm-hmm.
um, it's hard to write about your own country, I find,
Right. Yeah.
because you're so closely intertwined with both the good and the bad. You don't want people to get a bad impression about where you come
Yeah.
from,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you want to be as truthful as you can be.
Yeah.
So I've only had 1 book set in Jamaica,
Okay.
and that was actually what they call an editor-led continuity. So there were 4 books that the editors came up with the storylines, and then you take it and run with it.
Okay.
Again, a Christmas continuity, and the premise was that uh, a hospital in England would send 4 specialists out to various parts of the world, to disseminate information and whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
And my specialist ended up going to Jamaica. So I was like, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. And
That's cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
One more place that it's aspirational for me that I've always wanted to go to is Banff in Alberta,
Oh, and
Canada,
yeah,
in the
that's on the
Rockies.
western side of Canada, right?
It's right in the Rocky Mountains.
Right.
I've
Okay.
always wanted to go there. I don't ski. I don't like snow, but for some reason I've always wanted to go to
For some
Banff.
reason, those mountains are calling you, huh? I think there's a train that goes across Canada
Oh,
to Banff. And I think my
yes.
sister did that for her honeymoon.
I think
And
you can go actually from coast to coast on it,
wow,
but
would that be cool?
the part that goes through the mountain, they have like the car with the observation. There's like
Right, where it's
glass
all
at the top.
glass. Yeah,
Oh,
that would be
wouldn't that be
something.
lovely
Yeah. That's
on the
such
bucket
a
list?
huge country, and so much of it most of us will never see just because we don't live
No,
up there. I mean, I've been to Toronto, but getting anywhere else in Canada is going to be a trek. So,
I lived I lived in Canada for almost 15 years,
oh, wow.
and just the logistics of trying to get from there to any of the other places in Canada I wanted to go to was overwhelming, especially
Yeah.
when you have kids and you have all of the financial issues that come with that. And so I've never been to the places in Canada that I want to go to.
That you
So
really want to go. Yeah.
yeah.
London is near Niagara, right? It's,
No, London is sort of halfway between Toronto and Detroit.
oh, okay. Okay.
So it is west of Toronto.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So, what is your latest book that has come out?
The latest book is actually, I think, one of my favorites, and I'll tell you there are two reasons. I really enjoyed the characters and the premise, but
Okay.
the main reason why I enjoyed it so much was that it was a duet with another medicals author named Annie Clayton, and she is so much fun to work with.
That is
We
cool.
we came up with the concept together, and it was based sort of around a classic car rally that
Ooh,
is
fun.
being run to raise awareness for transplants, the need to sign up to be an organ donor. And then, the blood services got involved. So it was like this entire scenario that we came up with. And they
Okay.
were going to be traveling across England. They start in Scotland and, go all the way through the
The UK there, huh?
the UK. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Um,
interesting.
so my hero and Annie's hero are father and son.
Okay.
And then my heroine is a transplant coordinator that is involved in the rally as well.
Okay.
And her book is more of a second chance romance, in that her heroine, who is she's a liver specialist.
Okay.
She was involved with the son prior to all of this, and she had ran off and left him, and then they have to work together
Oh,
in Annie's book. So, but it was so much fun working with her. I think this is one of my favorite books to write to date.
that's interesting because a lot of times for authors, I mean, I would think the majority of times your work is solo work. And so the opportunity to work with someone else on a collaboration like that, that's got to be really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you said, it's such a solitary pursuit most of the time.
Hmm.
We get together and grumble and in little groups,
Right.
but for the most part, it is bum in chair, fingers on
Exactly.
keyboard.
That's right. When you write, it's, yeah, you're sitting there by yourself in your computer or your paper, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
That's it for a
And
long time, probably.
yes, but it's more than that too, because it's not just the actual writing, it's the coming up with the concept. Is this going to work? Is it enough plot? Is it too much plot? Is it, how can I make it more interesting other than just two people together on a page? So having somebody to actually brainstorm with
Yeah.
and bat ideas back and forth. Because I mean, when we started, we didn't have any idea of what we were going to do. It
Okay.
was sort of the height of the pandemic. She's in England, I'm here. We're both kind of on lockdown.
Right.
And I think we both were missing the opportunity to just travel,
Yeah.
just have the freedom to, whatever, jump on a bus and go somewhere,
Exactly.
whatever.
Yeah. Bus, plane, car, whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. So we were trying to, for some reason, we started out with, and he was saying, well, what about a train? I'm like, okay, that makes sense. If you think about it, most places in the world still use railroads
Mm-hmm.
extensively.
Right.
I said, but I'm not writing any kind of there's a term for it and I can't remember exactly what it is, but we call it like I'll put this in quotation marks, the savior plot,
Okay.
where somebody from a developed country goes to a less developed country
Right.
and is like the hero
The
to
hero.
save them,
Yeah.
whatever. I said, I'm not doing that. And if you think about having a group of medical people on a train going across a country, why are they there?
Right.
What, is it that the country doesn't have the ability to deal with whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
Also, we didn't want to make it anything too heavy.
Right. Especially in the middle of a pandemic. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
no Ebola,
Right.
nothing like that. So we went through the train thing. We talked about I don't know if you know about the ships that go um to different, like they come to the Caribbean all the time. I don't
Yeah.
know where else they
Yeah.
go.
There's like a almost a cruise ship type thing where it's all medical, right?
Right. And they do
Yeah.
things like cataract surgeries. And so we
Yeah.
talked about that a bit and didn't really appeal. But my husband used to drive cars in rallies. He used to do
Oh.
rallies. And so it came to me. I said, well, what about, like an awareness raising rally thing? So we had him to fall back on for the details of how the rally would be
Like the
run.
rally. Yeah.
And it turned out to be just such a fun project.
How fun. Yeah.
It's all classic cars. So like my hero is in a 1930s Daimler, and um,
That's fun.
and the two heroines are in a 1960s Mini,
That's
and
very cool.
they
Yeah.
dress in 60s garb,
Oh,
each
fun.
day kind of thing. So it really was fun.
And so there's a route across the UK that everybody's
Yes.
doing, trying to get hit the end first. Is that the rally? Is that
It's
what it?
what they call I think it's called a TSD rally, which is a time, speed, and distance rally, because it's classic
Okay.
cars. It's not that they're going fast. It is that
Right.
they have to get from point A to point B within a certain set time,
Okay.
and you have to follow the route that they set for you, and you have to follow the directions of the speeds that they want you to go at.
Okay.
So you lose points if you get in too soon, you lose points if you get in too late, you know.
Okay.
And this one, they had a what they call a gimmick component, which is you have to either spot things and take pictures, which is what we did in our books, or um, you have to find something
Yeah.
and mark down what the mile marker was where you saw it, or stuff
Yeah.
like that. My husband, of course, used to do the full on, full speed ahead, whoever gets there first wins,
like cannonball
kind of
rally or something like that.
Yeah,
That's
he's
so
a
fun.
speed demon, so
Ooh, well,
but
fun.
so yeah, I mean, it just the whole concept. So my book starts with my hero and heroine meeting because he's been called in to consult on a patient that she's working with, a potential transplant patient. So the first part of the book is them meeting and sort of getting to know each other and basically falling in love, although they don't want to.
Right.
And then the last part of my book is the first part of the rally. And then
Okay.
Christy's book, her first part of her, sorry, Annie's book, the first part of her book is the end of the rally, and then her hero and heroine working together on a case after.
Okay. That's fun. How clever. And was this through Harlequin as well?
Yes, yes. It's one of the Harlequin medicals.
Okay.
Mine is, gosh, how embarrassing. I can't even remember my book's name. How to Heal the Surgeon's Heart.
How to Heal the Surgeon's Heart?
Yes, I think so. Don't quote me on that. My only excuse, if I got it wrong, is that we have a maniacal bird that lives outside of our bedroom window.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if it's because it was a full moon or whatever. It chirped all night last night.
Oh my
It did
goodness.
not stop. I thought I was going insane. I'm like, what is this bird doing?
Don't they know they're supposed to go to sleep at night?
Exactly.
Man,
I mean, I'm a huge animal lover, but
makes you wonder
at
what
three
was
o'clock
going
in the
on out there.
morning,
Jeez.
I'm like, why doesn't an owl come and, like take this bird
Knock
or
it out or something. Yeah, jeez. That's so funny. So what are you working on now? Have you got another book in the works?
Yeah, I'm just finishing up another Christmas story. It's so weird to be writing Christmas stories in at this time of year, but that's when you
That's
write them, of course, right?
that's the cycle, isn't it?
Exactly. So this one is set in, pardon me, set in a cottage hospital in Cornwall, which is another
Oh,
place that I'm dying to go and see,
same. Yeah,
you
same.
know. So that one will be out, I think, in November.
Okay.
But
And
in
does it
July,
have a name yet or no?
Christmas Miracle on Their Doorstep.
Okay. Nice.
But the next book of mine that's coming out is in July,
Okay.
and that one's set on the Amalfi Coast.
Ooh, love it. Okay.
Another aspirational.
Yeah, I've been reading several there lately, and it's like, ah.
I would just adore to win the lottery and just travel.
Right? Yeah, that one's a dream. Yeah, that's
And
yeah.
it's funny because other people are like, oh, I want to go to Florence and I want to go to Venice and and yeah, sure, I'd love to go there, but I'd like to see the Dolomites,
Mm-hmm.
or go to the Amalfi Coast. I want to
Right.
do that kind of
Yeah,
travel,
that's
you know.
interesting. Yeah. And so, what's the one in Amalfi called?
One Night Fling in Positano, I believe.
Ooh, okay. Now you write romances, obviously, right?
Yes, amongst other things.
Okay. What other genres do you write in?
I've done some just literary fiction,
Okay.
um, not published, but that's another place that, another facet of writing that I'm
Nice.
really, really interested in.
Okay.
Um, I'd love to do mysteries, but I just don't think I have the brain for it.
I'd like to
I
do
don't think I
mysteries
don't
too.
think I have you have to have a certain subtlety when you do a mystery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see the clues throughout so that the
Mm-hmm.
reader is
Yeah, to be able to
interested,
pepper
and
things in and red herrings
red
and
herrings and all of
yeah.
that. I don't know if I have
So clever. Yeah.
but I think maybe at some point I might try my hand.
It seems like it'd have to be really well thought out. I don't know how you could be a pantser and do
Exactly.
a mystery at all. That
Well,
one would boggle my mind.
I think if you're going to be a pantser and do it, you have to know, you already have to have an idea in your mind. Well, who did it, why, the
Right. You
whole
have to
thing.
know, where
And
it's going. Yeah.
and then you'd have to just sort of freeform write it and then go back and sprinkle it.
That makes sense. Okay.
I think.
That,
I don't know.
that would make sense. Do you tend to outline or are you more free form with it?
I've always been more of a pantser.
Okay.
Writing for Harlequin, they ask that you send them a proposal before you write your next book.
Okay.
So in that way, I've turned into a little bit more of a plotter in that you have to give them the concept to make sure they like it, but you also have to show that you can finish the book. You have an end in
Right.
mind
Okay.
before you start writing.
Okay. Interesting.
Because I'm sure most pantsers like myself, I have folders upon folders of stuff that I started years ago that never got finished, because when you're pantsing, if you get to a roadblock, sometimes you can't get past it.
Yeah.
It peters out on you.
That's interesting. I was
Until
reading Jennifer Probst's book. It's called Write Naked. And she was calling it the sagging middle, how that's the part that's hard to get through because
yes,
it's not, the exciting beginning or the exciting conclusion. It's just the middle kind of where everything happens, all the boring stuff, if you will.
no, but I mean, I don't honestly. Everybody says, that's where all the boring. So I don't think so. That's where all the meat happens.
Well, that's exactly right. That's where you really get to know the characters and all the
Exactly.
things that build up to whatever your conclusion is going to
Yeah,
be.
where they get to know themselves,
Yeah.
where they get to know each other,
Mm-hmm.
where the
Grow
reader
through whatever it is they're growing through, and
exactly, and where you get a chance to really hook your reader, make them
make them want
invested.
to get to the end. Yeah.
Yeah, and invested in the characters, so that
Yeah.
although they want to get to the end, they also don't want to get to the end. They want
Exactly.
to.
Yes. I
Yeah,
find that a
that's
lot.
where all of that happens. So I try not to think about it as the saggy middle or
I
the,
like that. Yeah.
I try to think about how can I keep hooking my readers through this portion of the book and
Mm-hmm.
really suck them in even more.
Right. I like that. That's fun. How can readers find you?
They can go on the Harlequin website. It's probably the easiest way, but they're also available on Amazon, not just in the US, but other parts of the world as
Okay.
well. And I was going to say, unfortunately, they don't sell the medical line in the stores in the US or Canada. I don't know why. We keep
Just
asking
online.
them.
Okay.
It's a line that they don't sell here, but you can get the physical books as well as the electronic versions. I think through all of the major
You just can't get them
distributors.
in their stores or whatever.
Right.
Okay. Interesting. That's a curious thing. Are you on social media?
I have a professional Facebook page.
So July is One Night Fling in Positano.
I believe so, yes.
And then Christmas time, the Christmas Miracle on Their Doorstep.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Good stuff. Looking forward to.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Anne, for joining me today. This was a lot of fun chatting with you.
It was a lot of fun talking to you too, Becky. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate you hanging out with me and checking out the authors that I interview. I hope you found a few books that you're interested in and maybe a few destinations that you'd like to check out a little further. Today I want to share with you a little bit more about the Summer Escape Party. I have 3 authors that will be joining me on June 2nd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And we are going to fill your summer reading list. So by the end of the party, you will have 15 book recommendations from 15 different destinations, and you'll have had the opportunity to meet 3 different authors. So if you'd like to join, I have the link in the show notes, so go check it out if you don't mind. I'd love to see you over there. And make sure you say hi if you join. And hope I see you next time on the next episode of the Literary Escape Podcast.